All right, step 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it, right? You ever wake up in the morning and you're over processing all the stuff that you've done the day before, the week before, the bad decisions you made, and then you go through another day and you're still processing it at night and it keeps you awake and you can't go to sleep, all that stuff, right? Continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it, promptly. So when I'm going throughout my day now and I'm exercising step 6 and 7 to the best of my ability, right? I'm gonna mess up. That's why it says spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. I'm going to mess up as I go throughout my days. I have talked to Elena wrong in sobriety. I've talked to my mother wrong in sobriety. I've gotten mad at my kids from resentments I brought home from work in sobriety, right? I was wrong. But now I have this process where I can promptly admit it, right? We can get into a heated debate, a heated argument with a coworker, with Elena, or whatever it is, and I step away from it whenever it's done or whatever, when we walk away, and I have a resentment. Resentment means to re-feel, right? So I'm replaying it in my head an hour after whatever argument or whatever happened. I'm still over processing it, right? That is my warning sign. That's the red flag. Hey, it's time to promptly admit it. So what do? We apply our process. I look at my role in it, my angle of approach, the things that I said were wrong. Whether the other person was wrong or not is not for me to determine. This is about me. I pick up the phone. We do this a lot. Sorry, Elena, but we do this a lot. I pick up the phone, call and say, I'm sorry for the way that I raised my voice or the way that I started that conversation. I shouldn't have said that. That was wrong of me. I would like to not argue. Well, what can I do to make this better, right? And she'll come right back and say, I'm sorry too. I was wrong for X, Y, Z. You know, we're both in recovery. Not everybody's that lucky, right? So I promptly admit it, right? And then when I go to bed that night, it's not spiraling around in my head like we were talking about, keeping me awake all night. And especially, I don't have to wake up with it the next morning. It says we will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. If you put in this action of calling yourself out on your own BS, whenever it happens throughout the day, continue to take personal inventory, and when you're wrong, promptly admit it and go to that person and clean it up, you don't have to sleep with that stuff anymore. And I know this might be a silly example to some people, but this made sense to me, right? And this is as Sweezy sees it. This is something that came into my head. But you ever take a computer and just pull the cord, shut it off? What happens? It goes off, okay? What happens when you try to start it back up? It's a mess, right? It's juggling. It's got a bunch of junk files in it, right? And it's got to start up. Then you got to click this and give it permission to open, and all. You know, it's a mess, right? Same thing with this computer up here. If I don't erase all the junk files before bedtime and shut it down properly, when I try to turn it back on the next day, it's a mess, dude. 404 error, file not found, right? You know? And but when I do prayer, meditation, continue to take personal inventory, promptly admit my wrongs, and I shut this computer down properly, it's just like your other computer. When you wake up the next day and you hit the start button, what? It gets running a little bit easier. It's bloop, pops up. Here we go. Let's start our day. Right? Now that might be silly, but my brain is a computer. I have programmed myself over a period of 15 years with certain behaviors, character defects, the shortcomings pop out in my life, how I treat people. And here's the thing. The main thing I program my brain is over the last 15 years, when I don't like the way I feel, put drugs and alcohol on top of it to make it go away temporarily. This process that I'm describing for myself is the systematic reprogramming of my thinking to where when I don't like the way I feel or I've done something wrong, I have a process that I can go through and I can put it all to bed and shut it down properly without using drugs or alcohol. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for the knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. You know, when I was, my sponsor got me on this. When I was in early sobriety, he was teaching a class. That's how he became my sponsor. He was teaching this class, and they were going to let us go out to Thunder over Louisville, one of the world's largest fireworks shows. And I was in the homeless shelter, and they were debating amongst the top brass there, are we going to let them go out that weekend around all these drunks and all these people? And I was actually there when some of them were having the conversation. They were like, sure, let them hang themselves. They're going to have to learn how to do it one day. So we were all happy, right? We get to go out on Thunder over Louisville Day. We get to watch some of the fireworks from outside, right? And my sponsor did class that day. It was a Friday. And he said, let me ask you a question. How many of you are going to remember that you're powerless over this disease when you go out this weekend? Threw my hand up. So did a bunch of other people. I'm going to remember. He said, we got to talk. It says we're powerless over drugs and alcohol, not the disease. It doesn't say that anywhere. He said, I gained power back through this step work. It says praying only for the knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. See, I gained some power back. I'm not powerless over the disease, right? But that's at the core of the step right there. I gained power of choice. I gained power of decision. And I use this process for clear choices and clear decision making. I have the power to say no. I have the power to make a decision to not walk into a place that's not healthy for me, or walk out of a meeting that's not healthy for me, right? I have been to 12-step fellowship meetings where I felt worse after I walked out, right? I gained some power back. I don't have to stay. I can go somewhere else and hang out with people that I want to be around, right? But the main thing to know for me about step 11 says sought through prayer and meditation. Here's the thing. Regardless of who your higher power is, Buddha, Jesus, Allah, nobody cares. If you're not praying and meditating, you're not working the 12 steps. That's it. And when somebody said that to me, I was like, damn. You know, it's been probably a month at the time. It's been a month since I actually prayed in the morning and started my day off properly. I haven't meditated. And they brought it to my attention that you're not working the 12 steps, the maintenance steps, 10, 11, and 12. Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and practice these principles in all of our affairs. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of the steps, right? I don't know about you, but I watch it all the time in detox. I did it when I was in there. I try to jump from step 1 to step 9. A lot of people do. And what do I mean by that is step 9 is the amend step, right? You come in, you go to detox, and then skip over the rest of it and get on the phone and start calling people and telling them how sorry you are. I don't know about you guys, but I tried to jump to step 9 because I wanted to say, Mom, I'm sorry. I'll never do it again. Will you send me $50? My motive was incorrect. I was jumping from step 1 to step 9. I went through detox and got on the phone and started trying to apologize to people. My motives were impure. My motives weren't right. I wanted to apologize to them. Remember in step 9? Whenever possible? I was doing the whenever, not wherever when it presented itself after I worked all the steps. I was doing this whenever shit where I went through detox. Now I'm going to call you and tell you how awesome I'm doing and hope you'll forgive me and then start enabling me again. Let's call it what it is, right? It says, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of the steps. And it's a cliche term, but that's why they call this a recipe and not a menu, right? It doesn't do you any good to run around after a week in detox, apologizing to everyone and telling them how you found God and telling them how you're never going to do that again because you haven't done the behavioral change, right? You didn't go step 1 and admit you're powerless, right? Come to believe that this other group of people are going to help you and that you could get better. Made a decision to turn your will over. Did the searching and fearless moral inventory. Get yourself a sponsor and that roadmap, the searching and fearless moral inventory, and show your sponsor that roadmap. This is what makes me homeless, man. Help me. You know what I'm saying? Then they look at it and study it with you. Then you go through steps 6 and 7 and you identify your character defects and the shortcomings and how they manifest themselves in your life. And then you take 8 and not 8, the list of all the people you had harmed, and you clean it up to the best of your ability so you can turn the volume down in your head. You know, we will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. When I start cleaning all that up, then I go into 10, a daily maintenance, continue to take personal inventory, and when I'm wrong, promptly admit it. Doing my prayer and meditation on step 11, and the systematic reprogramming of my thinking to make decisions that won't wind me up homeless with a needle in my arm, right? Once you do that, and you've had a spiritual awakening over the result of the steps, then you try to carry the message to other alcoholics. And here it is again. Practice these principles in all of your affairs. Business, personal, whatever.